Quadratic equations, as mentioned earlier, are equations that have the highest degree of 2. That means the x has the highest degree, or the variable has the highest degree of 2. For example, ax squared plus bx plus c. Now in this section, or in this lesson, we're going to learn how to factorize it using the formula, the quadratic formula. There are other techniques that are used, but the most prominent and the most promising in terms of accuracy is the quadratic formula. Basically, we use something we call the discriminant. The discriminant, or symbolized sometimes as delta, as a triangle, is delta equals to b squared minus 4ac. If delta if it was positive, greater than 0, that means we will have two possible solutions, or two roots to the equation. Later on, when we explore graphing quadratic formulas and quadratic functions, we will learn more about what roots mean. But for now, having delta greater than 0, that means there are two distinct or different roots. If delta were equal to 0, that means we have a single root, one solution of the equation or the function. If delta were less than 0, that means no roots or no solution, no real solution. When I say real solution, I'm talking about the set of real numbers. That is something that we can explore later on. When we have, I'm going to start with the scenario of the two roots, and then we're going to explore the one root scenario. Basically, if we had two roots, that means my delta is positive. That means I can have x1 and x2 for the two roots, x1 and x2. x1 in this case would equal to minus b. b is the coefficient of x, plus the square root of delta over 2a. a is the coefficient of x squared. x2 would equal to minus b minus the square root of delta over 2a. The only difference between them, as you notice, is just the plus and the minus. So this is the situation where we have two roots. If we had a single root of delta, what we can do is x1 and x2 are equal. Basically, that's what it means. My delta was 0, that means my discriminant, or my square root, goes to 0. I'm left with minus b over 2a. Coincidentally, this is the x value of the vertex. We will also talk about vertex when we start talking about graphing the equations, but I'm just pointing this out so we know. Of course, no roots means no solution, so we don't work with that. Let's try a delta. Let's try an approach. If I had, again, the same function that I used earlier, say x squared plus 6x plus 8. My a is 1, my b is 6, and my c is 8. Delta, in this case, or the discriminant, would be b squared, or 6 squared, minus 4 times a times c. This is equal to 36 minus 32, which is equal to 4. x1 in this case, that means two roots, of course, two solutions, two roots. x1 is equal to minus b, so minus 6 plus radical 4 over 2 times a times 1. So it's equal to minus 6 plus 2 over 2. So minus 4 over 2, which is equal to minus 2, negative 2. x2 is equal to minus 6 again, minus radical 4 over 2 times 1, which is equal to minus 4 over 2, which is equal to minus, I'm sorry, not minus 4, this is work. So minus 6 minus 2 is minus 8 over 2. So this will be minus 4 altogether. Basically, from a factorization perspective, it has to be that the value that we end up with, remember we had x1 and x2, if delta is positive, which means two distinct roots, which are x1 and x2, this means my function can be rewritten as a factor such that x minus x1, x minus x2. If it was delta equals to 0, that means one single root. So I can simply say this means it's x minus x1 squared, because x1 and x2 are the same thing. In this case, if we rewrite it, my answer for this example is x minus negative 2 times x minus negative 4. I end up with x plus 2, x plus 4. This is a very useful tool for us to solve quadratic formulas. Basically, the rule says any two numbers multiplied by each other equal to 0, that means one or both of them is 0. So if I had any two values, let's say capital A times capital B equal to 0, this means capital A equal to 0 or capital B equal to 0 or both. Now we can solve this, and this is why they're called roots or solutions. If I had x squared in my example plus 6x plus 8 equal to 0, this means x plus 2 into x plus 4 equal to 0, which means, as my roots go, x equals to minus 2 or x equals to minus 4. This is the main reason why we factorize, because it helps us solve quadratic equations and any other equation.